Tesla did get in some trouble. I reported on it, and I like to update things to be fair, unbiased. So I did have an episode talking about some major issues with Tesla. And yes, I did rip into Tesla because there was a Tesla that it would have seemed at first. Anyways, I won't get into the old news, but essentially GM has had an issue too. GM had a very serious issue where GM provided information to the government, essentially, with part of a video taken from dash cam, and it was showing that, essentially, the vehicle ran someone over, and they were trying to. Maybe they weren't hiding this, but for whatever reason, they sent part of a video which was favorable to them. But then when more digging was done and the government got the full video from the vehicle, well, it would seem that to avoid a vehicle, GM drove over someone, and then to get the person from underneath them, or because it detected a crash, it then went to get out of the traffic's way and to park, but with someone underneath them. So from there's the whole conclusion of, can we really go to self-driving vehicles? Now, from a very biased point of view, I don't really want self-driving vehicles, because it's sort of the beginning stages of removing personal vehicle ownership, because you can then just have these robotic taxis picking people up and shipping us off to work, which still seems better than being forced to kind of live in 15-minute nightmarish cities where you can't own a vehicle. You have to walk everywhere, and you can only eat a certain amount of steaks per year and only travel once per year by plane. But that's a different story. Positive story here is that Tesla has made self-driving or autopilot incredibly good, and it's only getting better. Just recently, there was a big news. If you follow the stock market, there's a lot of emphasis on how Tesla was not taking possession of some very high-grade computers, some high-grade chips, essentially, but and these chips were going off to one of Elon Musk's side businesses, and it was presented as, oh, look at this, it's so bad that Elon Musk is putting his emphasis on other companies. This is bad news. It was actually, in my opinion, really positive news, because it shows that Tesla doesn't need more chips that have higher computing power. And these chips are really expensive. If you think of like the top of the line NVIDIA chip being roughly $35,000, what they're able to do is say, well, no, Tesla doesn't need this high-powered chip. Why? And they sent it off to one of Elon Musk's other companies. The reason is because self-driving is getting better and better and is already extremely good over at Tesla. So you've got the miles driven per one accident. You've got Tesla vehicles using autopilot. So let's zoom in on this. You've got, hello. Let's get back to this here. You've got Tesla vehicles, dark blue or purple, pink, help me out here, folks. But you've got the darker one here, Tesla vehicles using autopilot technology. You've got the light blue, Tesla vehicles not using autopilot technology. And in gray, you've got the United States average for accidents per mile driven. Now, it looked like for Q1 2024, we're talking about million miles driven before an accident occurs. Well, for the autopilot or the full self-driving, and they're calling it autopilot, but Tesla's working on incredible technology called full self-driving, where you can be at your house, you can speak or punch in with your fingers an address, and it takes you from your house or your work all the way to the other address. Well, they're really coming along with this technology. It seems to be going quite well if they're able to refuse top quality processors. But that's incredible. So you've got almost 8 million miles driven before an accident occurs if you're on the full autopilot. Tesla vehicles not using autopilot technology, so let's just call it what it is, humans driving Teslas, not quite 1 mile driven. Not quite 1 million miles driven before an accident occurs. And then you've got the American average, the little gray bar. That's the worst results. That's an eighth. That's 8 times worse than AutoPilot on a Tesla. So the United States average for accidents, 8 times worse than Tesla with an AutoPilot. Still making mistakes, still making huge headlines when a Tesla in AutoPilot or self-driving mode has a crash. It makes headlines. Journalists jump all over it. It drives their income. So I'm telling the boring story that doesn't pay so that we can all have intelligent conversations with people. And even if we, have a bias against this, and we don't want to see, some of us don't want to see self-driving vehicles on the road because we worry about it taking away, slowly being, one of the steps to taking away our capacity to drive on the roads. But when it comes down to it, Tesla is building vehicles that have far fewer accidents when they're driving themselves. And the data is there. It's getting better. So you go bottom of the list, this is 2023. So in 2023, AutoPilot, 1 accident right after the 5 million miles driven. Q2, 2023, just passing the 6 million mile mark before there's an accident. So almost, other than Q4 2023, I don't know if that was, everything seemed to have issues when they were built under, all the COVID changes, the pandemic changes. But Q4 2023, there's a little bit of digression. So Q2 2023 had the best results, but back into Q1 2024, you've got fantastic results for self-driving vehicles. So there is our Tesla story, folks. And we'll turn this into a mini episode later. Let's talk about Porsche, because we've got some Porsche 911 news that's going to rock the industry, because I like to say it's rocking or shocking the industry because it's an indicator of what is to come. So yeah, big indicator of what is to come. There will be no manual Porsche 911 in 2025.